My name is Mark McDaniel, and I'm a chemist by trade. I solve problems, I produce defensible data, I salvage bad data, and I build teams. I grew up in West Texas in an oil field family. The family business was working in the oil field. I actually started out my career as a biologist, an invertebrate zoologist, and I liked studying snails. So it turns out that nobody really wants to pay you to study snails. My first job in Austin, Texas was being a laboratory chemist, a bench chemist. And I learned gas chromatography, mass spectroscopy. I bring a wide variety of chemistry knowledge, not just the analytical part, but also the chemical processing. A lot of the work I did in emergency response and the work I do now with industry has to do with not just the chemical analysis, but actually how chemical processes work. In order to remediate sites, in order to help people with their processes, to improve their waste control, I have to understand how their process works chemically. And then from there, I moved here to Denver to work in an organics lab. And after a lot of chemists, after 5 or 6 years on the bench, you kind of learned everything you can. Not everything you can, but it starts to get a little dull. And I went to work for an emergency response group that did emergency response for EPA Region 8, the Rocky Mountain region. My first gig with them was an explosive site, an old mining place, an old mining laboratory that had a lot of explosives in it. And so I got to drive the bomb robot, blow some stuff up. I was hooked. It was a wonderful job. It was so rewarding because you're oftentimes, you're helping people that are in a lot of need, but it involved a lot of travel. And eventually, my family voted off the island. I took a job with AlterEcho and running government laboratories. It was a sampling program, ecotoxicology, ecology. We would actually go out and sample whole mining basins and use that data to remediate the basin. It's very rewarding work. And then lately, I've been doing a much more diverse bag of things, including large-scale odor control. And I've done a lot of what we would call treatment studies, where we take a contaminant that's there on site and come up with a novel way to treat it rather than just put it into a landfill or inject it back into the ground. We come up with a way to actually render it harmless. And in a way, I really prefer that approach because one, it saves my clients a lot of money. And two, I actually wind up kind of fixing the problem. You know, rather than taking some contaminant, digging out of the ground and putting it somewhere else, we're actually fixing the problem. PFAS is opening up a whole can of worms. One of the biggest things my clients want to know is, what is my risk? Do I have PFAS? How much of it is there? What is the risk to me and my company? How much could this cost us at the end of the day? We developed some great cost models for that allow our clients to understand the risk, know what it could potentially cost them to have to clean that up. And that's, having that known risk is a big deal. Where I produce defensible data, and knowing how to make sure that your data can be defended in court, can be used to make health decisions for people's lives is really important. I can just sit down with a huge database and see the patterns in it, and pulling those out and presenting them in ways that other people can understand is one of my favorite things. And data does drive everything now, and we were really on the forefront of that. I think in a way, people get kind of dim about the environment stuff. I think we made a shocking amount of progress in the last 30 years. I think we do a better job than other companies of really understanding what the problem is. Whether it's closing out of your Superfund site, getting a no further action memo, we can do that. We really understand your issues. We also understand your regulators. And I think a lot of companies, they don't really understand what drives their regulators. And that's a big deal.
What Mark brings to the team is first is his hands-on knowledge. I tap into him not only to create cost-effective plans for data collection and laboratory analysis, but when you're talking about overall remediation, site cleanup, it's really good to have somebody who brings in the perspective of overall, just practical, this is what it will take to collect data of adequate quality.
I've been doing this 24 years. Almost everyone that I work with in AlterEcho has been doing this work for decades, and they're the very best at what they do.